Hi everyone, and welcome back to National League Lowdown with me, Dan. I think that's the first time I've been on with the new intro, so that was quite an exciting time for me there. Seeing that was quite good. As you can see, I'm joined by my usual co-host, Craig. Are you all right, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Another disappointing result for Braintree yesterday, but hopefully the tide will turn very shortly. It needs to. It needs to for us.
Yeah, it does. Mark, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, aloha everybody. Yep, the Mac back to winning ways against Curzon Ashton yesterday, 3-2. One for the neutrals. I really detest that saying, but an absolute scorcher of a winner from Justin Johnson. Go and look at it. It is so good. And good to see Alex Curran back playing for Curzon and back at his old stomping ground. So, but yeah, happy boy.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. And as you can see, we're joined by Dan Bell, Gateshead supporter. How are you, mate? Thanks for joining us.
Yep, pleasure to be on. Thank you for having us. Got a bit of caffeine to get me going because once we start dissecting our game yesterday, I'll probably fall asleep just reminiscing about it.
yeah. I mean, when you see it and it's 0-0, you just automatically think, "Oh, here we go." But no, we're going to cover everything Gateshead. Like I say, throughout the course of the podcast this season, we've been having different supporters on from different, teams, getting their views, getting their opinions on things going on. Instead of just hearing me, Craig, and Mark waffling on about it, it's good to get an actual perspective from that club. So, Dan, my first question is just a simple one: is what's your thoughts so far this season? How you started the season? You've obviously been up and down. You had the 5-0 defeat at Woking, but then you had that game at Yeovil where you came from 3-0 down to win 4-3. It just seems very mixed bag at the moment.
Yeah, it's been very inconsistent. That's the only way you can put it. It's frustrating. Don't get me wrong, because when we seem to be saving our best stuff for the road, like away from home, we've been putting in some playoff standard performances and in playoff standard form away. But when we get back to the international stadium, that just all seems to kind of go out the window and basically what it is whenever we play away at the minute, we seem to be proving people wrong with regards to maybe some expectations. But when we're back home, it looks like it's like watching two different teams altogether. Put it that way. It looks like a team of strangers. I can't put my finger on why that is. I don't know if it's just the way teams set up against us when they play at home to us. Maybe suits our style a little bit better. I don't know if it's just if it's a psychological thing, if it's just a bit more kind of pressure, which young squad I think one or two of them it's maybe kind of unfamiliar kind of territory, but but the main thing for us so far is this season was always like in the circumstances of what we kind of put through in the summer and that kind of thing was always about survival, and our current position we're well on course to achieve that. So yeah, it's just about I think if we can get a grip on our home form, hopefully touch wood, our like the amount of injuries that we've had so far, that'll won't have anything like that again. And yeah, hopefully come the end of the season, I'd be I'd quite gladly take it if we were going to Altrincham on the last day of the season, just enjoying a bit of a day in fancy dress because there's nothing left to kind of go for. We can just enjoy the day knowing that we're over the line in terms of safety.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there. Obviously, you had a bit of a big summer. You lost some important players. Greg Ollie, Regan Booty leaving, people that have been, mainstays in your side. Obviously, you've replaced them, but obviously, it's still taking time for the team to get used to, each other. Like I say, a lot of inexperience. We had our player of the month for September, which was Kane Adom. He's been incredible, but obviously, he's picked up an injury as well. Do you think that's maybe played a part that you've lost some big personalities and some big players as well?
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to ignore. I think, and obviously Greg Ollie was out for pretty much the whole of last season, bar 1.25 games. But still, it was always a massive personality to have around the dressing room. You look at obviously Regan Booty. I know his form maybe dipped quite a bit in the second half of the season. When obviously we had our usual January fire sale when we lost likes of Callum Whelan and Owen Aseni and players like that, which were always again going to be tough to replace. Luke Hannon, I think, was another big loss, but I still think there is enough in terms of personality and leaders within the current squad. It's just been a bit of a revolving door in terms of injuries. Like you look at that game against Boston the other week, I think once Conor Panny had gone off, I think our backline consisted of two midfielders, a forward, and one actual defender. So it's been pretty hard. I guess when you having as many injuries as what we have had, it is difficult to get the team to gel. But I think yesterday, obviously, we went in with with probably the cleanest bill of health that from kind of so far this season, from what I've seen. But I think to our credit, like no matter what's been thrown at us, we've had a lot of games where we have hung in there and managed to salvage something. You think Wealdstone away, there was a lot of pressure on us in that game. Obviously, with the previous one before that being that 5-0 loss at Woking, in a rotten run of form going to Braintree. We took the first kind of half an hour by storm. Had to ride a storm a little bit in the second half, but saw it through. So there is definitely, character in that team. But as I say, it's just about converting some of the results we've been getting at home, which frankly haven't been good enough. 5 defeats at home when you're only in October is pretty frightening, really. So whatever's we're doing right away from home, we need to try and transfer back to home. And as I say, I think we will be okay. But I think in terms of the squad, I think as we are starting to get players back from injury, hopefully, over the next few weeks or so, we'll we can kind of use that in our favour and hopefully start to push up the table. But don't get me wrong, there's still some very tough games to come for us over the next few weeks. I think in November alone, we've got to go to York and Forest Green and obviously face Bournemouth at home, which is never going to be easy. But I think we're having a lot of chat off air. It is what we do against those sides that you'd maybe associate more with mid-table and the lower reaches of the table. Like you look at next week, obviously Truro at home. That's maybe a game you'd look at and think, right, this is a game that Gateshead really have to show up in.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think the points in and around that area, the games there, they're there to be beaten, them teams, some of them. So I think you come out of those games with results, I think you'll be absolutely fine, mate. Craig, have you got any questions for Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel that the new manager's getting on? Obviously, he's only been in charge since the summer. I think a few people early on in the season were maybe turning against him, and as you said, that game against Braintree was probably, unfortunately for me, maybe the turning point in your season. And the first half hour there, you were the best team I've seen that come to Braintree so far. But yeah, how do you feel the new manager's getting on? Do you feel like it's quite a difficult proposition to come in as a Gateshead manager? Obviously, with the constant fire sales you say you have and everything going around the club as well?
Yeah, but I think in all fairness to Alan, he kind of knew what he was signing up for. He had obviously been involved with kind of the more with the under 19s, that kind of thing. He'd taken a couple of Durham Challenge Cup games last season and that sort of thing. So I think he knew obviously the circumstances of the club, and I think for him as well, it's the first time he's managed at National League level, which I think when he was appointed, we were a bit like, oh, is this really what we need? But I think in terms of his contacts within the game, his experience as a player, as a manager, there's maybe a bit of a safe pair of hands, which is maybe what we need at this moment in time. I think maybe as we hopefully eventually we'll maybe start to push on again. But I think for where we are at the moment, financially and that kind of thing, I think it was just kind of the safety net kind of option, really. I think he he'll get enough out of the players so that we don't get relegated or anything like that. But yeah, I think there is one or two things where he does maybe get tactically outdone. I think the Rochdale game in particular, where we're just totally outclassed in that. As the first game of the season against Southend as well. So he's kind of learning on the job as well as the players really. So yeah, I think he's, as we said, it was an appointment that maybe took one or two people by surprise, but I think the more I thought about it at the time, I was a bit like, initially my reaction was, why are we appointing a manager that not that long ago really was sacked by Darlington? But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I could see the logic behind it, and I think all in all, you have to say he is doing the job so far that he was brought in to do.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, for me, when I seen he got appointed manager, obviously you've had managers in the past. One obviously came across Carlisle, Mike Williamson. I shouldn't really say his name out loud. It's a bit like Freddy Krueger in the Mirror. But you've normally got managers that play this specific style of football and things like that. So, like I say, I think he's doing a good job in the circumstances. I agree. Mark, have you got any questions for Dan?
I do, Dan. There was a lot made about the potential takeover in the summer, which involved Victor and Ichibi. I'm going to put you in an alternate universe now. If that had gone through, how would you have seen Gateshead from that takeover beginning?
That's an interesting one because I think we had a lot at the time. We had a lot of perceptions about what it could lead to. This whole. I think whenever something like that happens at Gateshead, I think one of the kind of big questions that gets asked is always going to be around the stadium, and you can obviously understand that because I get that. I mean, for me as a Gateshead fan, as a Gateshead season ticket holder, I'm used to the Gateshead International Stadium, but I suppose if you are an away fan, come along, it is a lot different to what you're kind of used to, and what you'd see from other grounds when you go there. So I think, I think there was kind of whispers that he had some kind of, I don't know how true this is or not, but he was going to try, he was going to buy the stadium land off the council, rotate the pitch, and that kind of thing. So it would have been interesting to see if that had come to fruition. But I'm not. Based on that long-winded interview from Greg Ollie at the end of last season, I don't know if you saw that or not. But obviously, he raised a lot of points about obviously Anichbe, going into the dressing room, kind of outlining who was in his plans and who wasn't. So if that kind of thing was going on, before any takeover had officially been done, is it a case of better the devil or would it have turned out all okay? I mean, obviously financially, there's no doubt we would have been better off for it. But I think in these kind of situations, you've got to be careful what you wish for, haven't you? Because I think you get some owners going to football clubs if the first time or whatever, and they try to take a bit too much control, change the culture of the football club altogether. So I think we would have probably been better on the pitch at this moment in time, but would it have? But I guess the big questions is what would it have led to off the pitch? Would there have been ideas put across or things happening that maybe would have disillusioned one or two people? We don't know, and quite frankly, that's probably a question that'll always be a bit of a mystery to us now. But I think at the time there was an element of excitement, but I guess at the same time I was kind of asking myself, why Gateshead?
Yeah, I mean, like Mark says, it's obviously an alternate universe. So again, it could have been good, but we've spoken on this podcast numerous times this season over potential bad owners, people that have we've talked about Morecambe, we've obviously talked about Macclesfield in the past with Mark as well. Sometimes it is better the devil you just don't know, do you? Carlisle, my team, that have been lucky that we've had good owners. Off the pitch has been fantastic. But on the pitch, we had back-to-back relegations, so sometimes it's a bit of a mixed bag as well. It's obviously a massive transition. So, like I say, sometimes it's better the devil you know. Before we move on to the deep dive, Dan, I just wanted to ask you, obviously, give us your take on Saturday's game against Brackley. Obviously, early red card, 0-0 draw. Were you happy with that?
If you'd have asked me before the game, would I have taken the point? I would have said yes. I think obviously Brackley, they're a team that we probably had a bit more kind of inside knowledge about. Obviously, been in the National League North with them a few years ago, been in the National League North title race with them a few years ago. For a good number of years now, they've been they've kind of prided themselves on having such a solid defence. Masters of grinding out 1-0 wins and that kind of thing. So based on that, like going to St James Park, which I don't think anyone's going to find it easy to go there and get a result. I think Carlisle only just managed to get a win there, didn't obviously Rochdale came unstuck there. So it's definitely not an easy place to go. But I think in the circumstances of playing against 10 men for basically the entirety of the match, there was a bit of a hint of disappointment. I felt as though they just didn't move the ball quick enough when it came to the key moments in the final third. But I think the positive we can take from it is that we did keep a clean sheet. Only the second one we have kept in the league this season, and we didn't really look like conceding, which I guess is another plus that we can take from it. We brought in Ibrahim Bakari on loan from Cheltenham, which I think's
Good player, very good player.
I think that's been a good find because I think the back line did look a lot more assured than what I've seen. Because you watch a lot of Gateshead games, you're kind of just sitting there, just waiting for someone to make a bit of a hash of it. Then next thing we know, we're conceding a goal. I think we've got the second, third worst defensive record in the league. I think there's only Morecambe, possibly Aldershot, that have conceded more goals than us. But hopefully that's something that we're maybe starting to get a bit more of a grip on. As we said off air, I think that Truro game next week is going to be a really important one in terms of getting results, get our home form back on track. And I think, as we said as well, if we can get 4 points from away at Brackley and home to Truro, I think you take that. I mean, especially with some very, very difficult games coming up this side of Christmas alone. So I think obviously, based on the fact we were playing against 10 men for so long, it is a little bit disappointing that we couldn't make the most of that. But I think at the same time, I think you kind of know what you're getting with Brackley. It's always going to be a very, very tough game, and maybe come the end of the season, based on the fact that Brackley are likely to be around us in the league table. I think it might not be the worst result in the grand scheme of a 46-game season.
Yeah, like I say, I think you win the Truro game next week, and I think 4 points from that's absolutely bang on for you. I don't think there's any issue there. But yeah, obviously just good to get your perspective on the Gateshead game. We're going to go into our deep dive now. We're going to start with the one that I wanted to talk about, which is
I wonder which one.
Carlisle 4, Forest Green 2. Just my piece on this was I thought it was a really good game of football. Like in general, we see a lot of games that get a bit of a hype these days and they let you down. It's like boring 0-0, something like that. This was really end to end. Forest Green played some nice stuff. There was some really good football being played. Carlisle will play more counter attack. Regan Linney, Chris Clark linking up for the first goal. Regan Linney nicking the ball in the high press for the second goal. Forest Green done well to come back into it twice. Then ex-Macclesfield, Laurent Mendy got sent off in the second half, changed the game. And then Carlisle, Mark Hughes, for the first time this season, I would say, got the subs absolutely correct. There's been a couple of times where he's waited too long to make them. He's been more reactive than proactive. Whereas I thought on Saturday he was proactive. He brought Jordan Jones on, Jack Ellis, Harvey McAdam, got a hold of the midfield, kept the ball better, and obviously we pushed on to get the win late on. And I think we deserved it in the end. There was a bit of needle between Robbie Savage and the crowd. Again, I didn't hear all of it. I just heard bits.
You do shock me.
Savage was cupping his ear at the fans. The fans were shouting a few things. Me personally, I didn't hear anything out of line, but apparently there was some said. So I would always say I don't agree with any kind of abuse like that. But also, when they're shouting Savage, what's the score? That's just a bit of banter, isn't it? It's just a bit of a laugh. Him and Mark Hughes seem to be kind of having a bit of a to and fro on the sideline a little bit throughout the game, but it seemed all good spirited. So I don't know what Savage heard. I don't know if he's going to elaborate on what he heard or what was said to him. Because obviously, if it was bad, then it shouldn't be getting said at games. But in terms of the league, I thought it was a massive result for Carlisle. There's been some games. Obviously, we won at Scunthorpe last week. But we didn't play particularly well, and people were like, "You didn't deserve." I think we deserved that, and I think we played well. Craig, how did you see this one, mate?
Yeah, I think Carlisle fans were beginning to worry a couple of weeks ago after obviously losing to York, losing a couple more games along the way as well. But now beating Scunthorpe away and Forest Green at home shows that they can compete at the top. You were worried you'd filter into kind of playoff obscurity and just be fighting for maybe fourth or fifth and seeing what could happen in the playoffs. I think you're definitely back in the title race, and games like this will do you the world of good. I think, like you said, you probably did edge it. The sending off had a massive effect on the game. Obviously, he's been crucial to most things at Forest Green that have been good. Laurent Mendy's been at the heart of it in that holding midfield role. So he'd be a miss for them in their next game as well. But yeah, Carlisle just seemed quite clinical. And when you got Regan Linney up there, you're not going to be overly surprised. Con Clark, probably not playing at his maximum yet, because obviously he's been very stop-start. For Peterborough, more stop than start, shall we say. But you can see the quality and the special player that he is, and the more minutes he gets, the better and better he's going to get as well. But again, Georgie Kelly worked his socks off for you yesterday as well, and it was nice to see after weeks when maybe he hasn't got the rewards that he got the responsibility of stepping up and dispatched the penalty really well. But yeah, a great game. The right TV pick. I know we've talked about some of the TV picks they've had lately, but Carlisle versus Forest Green certainly delivered as a very good TV pick.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good advert for the league. I know people that were watching it that, don't particularly follow the league, follow anything to do with Carlisle that much. Just people that live in Carlisle near me. They were like, "Oh, I've watched it," and I'm going to watch more of them now because it's a good advert for the game. We've talked a lot about like the 12:30 games being a bit boring and a few 0-0s here and there or 1-0s and things like that, and some games that just haven't lived up. I thought that was absolutely perfect. Mark, what did you make of this one, mate?
Oh, a great game. I mean, there's been so much variety in this weekend's fixtures. You say about Chris Con Clark not firing on all cylinders yet. If this is what he does when he's not firing on all cylinders, heaven help everybody when he does. One thing I'll say about Forest Green, tactically, he got it wrong. Because, and I'll explain here, Laurent Mendy played at centre half. I know he's played there for Macclesfield, but that was in the Northern Premier League. You had Moore Taylor on the bench. You had Christian Doidge on the bench. You got a big game. You want your most experienced players out there. They threw the new signing from Worthing straight in, which I think was a massive mistake. I would have put Doidge up there. Maybe Babalaro is his name. Forgive my pronunciation. And I would have used him as an impact sub, but more Taylor was needed in the central defence. You keep Mendy in that holding role, and Christian Doidge, he will get you goals. I don't care how old he is, he will get you goals. But yeah, tactically, I think Forest Green got it wrong there, and they ended up paying for it when Laurent was sadly sent off, but it depends on your point of view to the word sadly there. But Carlisle, Con Clark and Linney, Mark Turney knows what he was doing. He knows full well what he's going to get. The back line. I mean, the second goal foxed absolutely everybody. It foxed even the commentators when they thought it had gone wide. Yeah, quality stuff, DAZN. Well done. But that has just it has just reminded people what Carlisle can do and why there's so many people's picks to go up this season. And if they do not sign Chris Clark on a permanent basis in January, I'll be very, very surprised. But yeah, Forest Green with some work to do because I don't think they've won in 4 games or something silly like that.
Well, I know it's back-to-back defeats in the league for them, so we'll have to see how they react to that. Obviously, they won in the cup in midweek, or on Monday, shall we say? So, but yeah, in the
2
league,
draws, 2 defeats. 2
yeah,
draws, 2
2
defeats.
draws, 2 defeats. But your experienced players in there, they're not going to sit on the bench forever.
yeah, be interesting to see how Forest Green react to that. Dan, how did you see this one, mate?
Yeah, I think it was. I think Carlisle's last 2 league games, they've had a point to prove. I think when they were beaten firstly by York and then by Rochdale, I think there was a bit of a consensus building that Carlisle were going missing against the bigger teams, which I think against Scunny and against Forest Green, especially, they've absolutely battered out of the water. I think, I think obviously, as we say, the Forest Green, they're a little bit off the boil at this moment in time, but it's extremely rare that they get beaten by any more than 1 goal. Which, yeah, again, I wasn't expecting that game to have that kind of manner of scoreline. I was expecting it maybe to be a 1-0 or a 2-1 either way. Maybe in Carl's favour, because I think for Carlisle this season, I think Brunton Park's going to be massively important for them. I don't know if 1 or 2 teams might get a little bit flustered, playing in front of such a massive crowd. Whereas I think when Carl, go away, they will. I think that whole thing might kind of change a bit. Like everyone's, I think a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Scunthorpe fans were absolutely, absolutely slating Carl's performance there. But the fact is, you beat Scunthorpe without playing well, playing spectacularly by all accounts, and then that's the sort of thing that does win your promotions. And I think obviously yesterday, I think it was 2 late-ish goals yesterday. Am I right?
Yeah, I think McAdam was 86 minutes, and then Georgie Kelly was in stoppage time.
Yeah, so I think when you've got that, kind of character around your team, I think it does serve you extremely well. I think when you looked at Carl's squad going into the season, like some of the players that brought in, some of the players that they already had in, that I fully expected Carl to be right up there. I thought I did expect them maybe to have a couple of wobbly results, as obviously I think the worst one obviously for them so far was been the away game at Sutton, which lost when I don't think anyone will have expected them to, based on the way both sides have started this season. But there's absolutely quality there for Carlisle to stay in a title race this season. Forest Green, I'm not so sure about. Just don't think Savage has got the necessary tactical nous to keep it going in a title race at this level. Of course, he has got the quality in his squad, but I think at this moment in time, there's just two or three teams that are just better than them, and I think there is probably going to be a few more games on the way where he just gets a little bit outdone tactically. So that's something he's just got to adapt to and learn from, really.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we've got York 4, Wealdstone 0. Obviously, another team potentially in the title race as well. Comfortable home win. Wealdstone won't be aren't the first and won't be the last team to probably go there and get a pasting. Mark, what did you make of this one, mate?
Well, they're on fire, aren't they? The departure of Adam Hinchelwood doesn't seem to have affected them at all. Stuart Maynard knows what he's doing. He would have had a slight hurt being with him being ex-Wealdstone and everything, but there's no room for sentiment. Sometimes in football, when you are going to win the league, it's his job. And 4-0, Ollie Pearce, another 2 goals. I think with Pearce now, because there was a lot of talk of him moving in January. The transfer deadline in August might still be January, you never know. But he seems to have put all that speculation behind him. He's doing what he's doing best, scoring goals, and defensively they're absolutely sound. I wasn't a fan of Harrison Mayle, I've got to say, in that playoff game against was it Forest Green? Well, the one they lost anyway, Rochdale.
Oldham.
When
It was Oldham that lost 2 in the playoffs.
Oldham, that's it. Oh yeah, how could anybody forget? But they've got it right. They've got it right defensively. They've got it right in midfield. They've got it right up front. They are now saying we are the team. Come at us, come and beat us, and not many are going to. Wealdstone, yeah, I think they can write that one off. I mean, but as long as they do not get into a downward spiral because of the defeat, then yeah, they can write this off and just move on to the next one. But you're looking so good at the moment.
Yeah. Dan, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, maybe a little bit surprised about the manner of the scoreline because I think Wealdstone, no matter who they played, they do try to make things as difficult as possible. But York have got quality in abundance. I think you look at the level of strength and depth that they've got. I personally think that their second choice in pretty much each position could formulate a team that would still be right up there in the league table. So it's going to be when you're coming up against that, it's extremely difficult for the majority of teams to be able to compete. I mean, of course, you could get a result against them in a one-off game if they're not quite at it, and you are. But yeah, I think we are starting to see what York can do now. Obviously, there's a lot made of this Hinchelwood departure. I mean, there was kind of whispers of it just after the loss in the playoffs, wasn't there, that he could be on his way out. One or two suggesting that him and Ugler had a bit of a falling out, but you know what? Obviously, Hinchelwood's back at Worthing now, and best of luck to him. But I think Maynard, I know he got a lot of stick from Notts County fans, and I know a lot of that is just purely down to the level of expectation which comes with managing a club like Notts County. But as we say, he went into a very, very strong squad there, and I do expect them to keep progressing. I think that they had a bit of a wobbly start to the season, didn't they? But that's they're really starting to put that behind them now. You think the last 3 games, one at Hartlepool. Yes, you could do a whole podcast about Hartlepool's problems at the minute in itself, but you still got to go down, you still got to perform. Went to Rochdale in the FA Cup, managed to get a win there, and they just took Wealdstone apart at the weekend. And I think, as you rightly said, there's the Wealdstone aren't the first, and they're probably not going to be the last team that's going to go there and get something of a hide in. I think for Wealdstone, I think, as we say, they can just write it off. I don't believe in free hits when it comes to league games, but there is other games that are a bit more of a realistic prospect for them to win. I think they will fall away a little bit from the position that they're in at this moment in time, but they are showing enough to to suggest that they are good enough to be at this level. So obviously the manner of the scoreline isn't nice for them, but as we said, I think the situation they're in at the minute, they're not in any like serious worries with like the bottom four or anything like that, and they can just write it off as long as they learn from it. They shouldn't have any significant problems.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Craig, anything to add on that one?
No, I think the lads have covered it well there. Perfect day for York. 4 goals. Ollie Pearce ahead of schedule compared to previous seasons with his goal scoring 2. Fagan Walcott always appearing on the scoreline. At the moment, seems to be a very good goal scoring defender. Seems we've got quite a few of them in the league. But yeah, job done. And for Wealdstone, they have bigger fish to fry. They have more important games than York away to determine their season. Happy with that. Move on.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we've got Morecambe 0, Southend 3. More worries for Morecambe. Dan, what did you make of this one?
I can't say I'm surprised, to be quite honest with you. I know Southend obviously absolutely took us apart on the first day of the season, but they've had 1 or 2 consistency issues. But I think where they are at the minute and where Morecambe are, I think that was if you're a betting man, I think that was pretty much an away banker because Morecambe. It's all very dysfunctional on the pitch there. Let's just put it that way. I think the manager they've got out. He seems a nice enough guy and what have you, but I just don't think he's got what it takes to be able to keep them up. And I do wonder at what point do they make the decision. But if you look at that from Southend's perspective, another side that you would expect to be in and around. I think most people would have had in their top 7. It's another good result for them. I think in all competitions they're unbeaten in the last 4. They won 3 of those. The odd one out being a draw against Boreham Wood, which you look at the way Boreham Wood are going this season. Don't think that's exactly the worst result in the world. So they're not a great deal of surprise in that one for me. If you'd asked me before the game, I would have said Southend would win comfortably, and that's the way it's turned out.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Craig, what did you make of this one?
Yeah, I saw something earlier that Southend was the odds-on favourite of all the away teams across the top 5 divisions to win, and I think that shows the situation Morecambe are in. It'll be interesting, as Dan said, to see how long they let this continue, because it just seems to be the same thing is repeating itself. And isn't that just the definition of insanity, expecting different results from doing the same things over and over again? And maybe it is time for a change there. And unfortunately, as nice as a bloke he seems, as Dan says, there's no room for niceties in footballs when you're sitting at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I agree. I watched the highlights and the goals. Some of the defending was absolutely criminal, to be honest. And it's not the first time we've seen that from Morecambe this season. I know they've got lots of new players and new manager, and they've had lots of off the field problems, but they're not even doing the basics. Like, we had Dave on here, didn't we, a few weeks ago, and he was saying about how Ash had got his coaching badges and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but like it's not football's not played in a textbook. Like you can do all your badges, you can do all your learning, but if you can't adapt and win games of football, it doesn't matter how many badges you've got, And I just think a lot of the supporters seem to have turned as well, and I've seen a lot of people calling for him to be let go. So it'll be interesting to see how long they let this go on for. Mark, anything to add on that one?
You can't let it go on for much longer because they're hurtling towards relegation already. The niceties in football. Nobody cares about the niceties in football. If you're not up to the job, then it is time to. Sacking Derek Adams is looking like the most stupidest thing they've done before the club even got going. But he might be a nice chap, and I'm sure he is. But no. If you're out of your depth, there's only so many rubber rings that you can be thrown to actually get you out of it. And And we know that Southend are a quality side. We know that they're going to be up there. And we also knew that they'd give them an absolute tonking. And it's becoming inevitable with Morecambe now. It's going to be, how high is the score going to be? Not what score is it going to be. How high is the score going to be? Because they've got players. They've got so many players. And now they're starting to loan all these new signings out, meaning you were there were desperation signings. And you can't go into this league with desperation signing thinking that'll do. You know, that's not the attitude. That'll do, won't do. And no, it is time maybe to get somebody other than Derek Adams back. I mean, they played that record before and it still sounds the same. But yeah, they are hurtling towards the oblivion, and it'll take them, when that happens, it'll take them years to get out of it. But Southend, again, looking good, looking value for money, as is one of the certain phrases on here.
Yeah, we haven't said that for a few weeks, to be fair. We'll come to them in a little while. But yeah, next game, which was value for money, Sutton 3, Hartlepool 3.
Yes,
The other half five game from Saturday, which was, both games were absolutely incredible.
brilliant.
Craig, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, two teams that are in weird veins of form, shall we say, as well. Hartlepool spiralling down the table, thinking they're going to eventually stop the rot and get the 3 points. Sutton, credit to them under their new manager. They've got a never say die attitude. They've been saved a couple of times by very, very late goals, especially in the FA Cup last weekend and midweek. And now they've managed to do it again, but leaking 3 goals to a poor Hartlepool side is going to be alarm bells for them as well. And yeah, two rather poor sides having a bit of a slugfest and mistakes leading to goals more than probably quality, I'd say. And two teams that if they can't be careful, they're going to be sliding even further down the table, especially Hartlepool in the form they're in, and they need that new manager in soon. But even then, it's not looking like it's going to be a household name or anything like that. It's looking like it's going to be, I believe it's St Mirren's B coach, if that's correct at the minute, which doesn't inspire too much inspiration for me. But going forwards, both teams can score, but if you don't keep it tight at the back, you're going to be in trouble all the time. Very similar to what we just spoke about with Morecambe, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that stood out to me when I seen the goals was the Sutton equaliser, when you could tell the frustration on the player's face, because he just booted the ball into the crowd and then booted the corner flag halfway down the pitch, like as in like, oh please, we've got to point out that I'm relieved because that was absolutely rubbish. And I think pretty much every goal could have been avoided. Like, the way it was really bad defended, in my opinion. Dan, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, it's interesting times at Hartlepool at the minute, isn't it? But I can't say I'm surprised at it. Obviously, following northeast football in general as closely as I do, that the thing is with Hartlepool, it seems to be the same things over and over again. Like every summer, without fail, they'll always sign what on paper are good players and individually are good players, but it just never ever clicks for them. Getting rid of managers after realistically not enough time to properly stamp their authority on things. Like a lot going on upstairs at Hartlepool. Let's put it that way. The fans have been unhappy with Raj Singh for quite a long time. I think you look at the damage he did at Darlington. Tells you everything that you need to know. So Hartlepool, it's the same. It's the same patterns every year. They start the season okay, then they go massively off the boil. Appoint a new manager, it picks up. They steer well clear of relegation by the end of things. But I think in terms of the stature of the club, there's it is desperate. It is desperate times, and until something changes internally, I think there'll be kind of mid-table National League for possibly even something more sinister than that for years and years to come. Sutton, obviously appointed a new manager. I think the way they started the season, I don't think there's any surprise that Steve Morrison was let go of. But I don't know if this new manager has got kind of a bit more of a job on his hands than what he realised. I don't know if the squad's just not up to scratch. I personally, at the start of the season, expected a little bit more from them, but they've got a job on their hands just to firstly get out of the bottom four. Then, if they can do that, just climb the table from there. But they are playing a lot of catch up at this moment in time. But as you've just said there, they have developed an ever say die attitude. They're very close to coming out the FA Cup last week. Very close, very close to yet another defeat yesterday. Yet they managed to salvage something on both occasions. So that's the sort of thing that could set them in good stead, and something that will give their fans a little bit more encouragement. But the league table doesn't lie. They've only won one game all season. They're cut a little bit adrift from safety at this moment in time. So they've certainly got work to do. But if they can use the positives of hanging in there and salvaging something yesterday as a platform, then it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And maybe in the coming weeks and the coming months, that they will push themselves towards a position that you would have maybe had them. You would have probably predicted them to have been at the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Mark, anything to add on that one?
Well, we've done the generation game analogies when Grayson was told to shut that door, and now we've got good game, good game. I thought this was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant because you're going to look at how everything was done. And as Craig pointed out, when the ball was booted for the equaliser and the corner flag ended up going down halfway down the pitch, it was like their lives had depended on it. But the different, and I'm not gonna sit here and slag off George Evans. I mean, Harvey Cartwright was a very tough role to fill, especially with Cartwright getting injured. So he had something to do, but you're only as good as the defence in front of you, and that goes for the Sutton goalkeeper as well. So, but yeah, I absolutely loved it. The masochist in me absolutely. Oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game for the neutral. I know we said that before, but next we've got Truro 2, Halifax 1. Mark, I'll come back to you, seeing as
Hey!
Truro's your boys. Good win for them. Halifax's winning run comes to an end at Truro. What did you make of this one?
It certainly does. Of all the places as well, I mean, you would have thought that Halifax would have gone down there and got something, but no, Truro, they're starting to pick up the points now. Elfcott, sorry, he's got, he was getting in the goals again, and Sir John Askey, he will pull it around. I have got that much confidence in him because the teams around him just seem to want to nosedive into that relegation spots. Braintree, sorry, Craig, but you can only say what you see here, mate. Altrincham, Morecambe, as I've already said, they're set for the abyss. Sutton will need to do something, but let me just say something to the Halifax fans on Twitter. Somebody out there loves you, and that somebody out there is me. I like your manager. I think your goalkeeper's one of the very best in the league. Stop fretting what we say on here. You're going to do fine. Don't worry about it. But start picking a few more points up away from home. But yeah, good for John. And yeah, Halifax will be back. I hope that satisfies you now.
Craig, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, I got a little bit. I was the one who mainly got most of the stick from the Halifax fans because I did bet Truro to win this one. So when they scored very late, I did have a little smug smile on my face, shall we say. Yeah, we've talked about Truro's home form being crucial for them. And again, without being disrespectful to Halifax, if you're Truro and you're going to stay up, which they've given themselves a fighting chance, can you take something from Halifax away at home? Yes, they can, is the answer to that question. Fair play to them. They go again away at Gateshead next week, where Gateshead's home form hasn't been great. They might be able to put a little bit of a run together to get themselves out the relegation zone. As Mark said, there's no one cut adrift at the moment. There's 7 or 8 teams that are fighting between themselves, and if Truro can keep that home form steady and pick up more points away from home, then they're going to give themselves a fighting chance. For Halifax, if you'd have said you'd get 3 points out of Rochdale and Truro, you'd have probably took it. They got the 3 points at Rochdale, which may have surprised them, or at home to Rochdale, I think it was, and then obviously struggled away at Truro. But just a blip in the road for them, and I'm sure we're all backbeat to be predicting them to win again very soon.
Yeah, I think Halifax, it'll just be a case of it's a bump in the road. They've won 5 in a row before that, or 6 in a row. I don't, it's a bump in the road. That's it. Dan, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, it's just bloody typical of our luck, isn't it? That Truro right before we played them would have something that could, potentially act as such a massive confidence boost, something to really kickstart the season. But I think all the same, as we said there, the home form for Truro is going to be absolutely, massive for them this season. I think a lot of it is going to be psychological, because I think I do think what could be their undoing is their away form, and I think a lot of that is just down to the travelling side of things. Obviously we talk about next week, they're going to break. I think it's going to be a new English record for longest journey for a league game. A record that they set themselves last month when they went to Carlisle. But that's going to be an interesting one next week, isn't it? Worst home form in the league versus worst away form in the league. So we'll obviously find out who can who can improve on that somewhat. But you look at Truro over the last couple of weeks, there is signs that they're starting to adapt to the league. Obviously got a point walking. Obviously had a bit of a disappointing exit from the FA Cup, but I think obviously the main target for them this season is just based around staying in the National League. And obviously Halifax were in very, very good form going into that. They were putting away some pretty good sides. At that, it has to be said, really starting to get it together. I think it is just a bump in the road for them, and it is the sort of result that can just appear for anyone at any given point during the season. So they'll be disappointed with it. I think obviously the fans will, having travelled all that way, but it is something that they've just got to put out the system quickly. Obviously, when I saw them the other week, I thought that there was more than enough to not have any worries at the wrong ends of the table. Still got some very good, very experienced players in that side. But the Truro, I'm sure, will just keep plugging away. And as we said, could that be something that, if they do stay up come the end of the season, could that be one of those moments that they'll look back on and think like that was the moment that it did start to click a little bit more. I think that there are going to be a lot of games where they'll just get beaten by virtue of the opposition just being better than them. But I think there's that there is the fighting spirit in there to potentially be able to stay up. But we'll find out in due course. As we say, nobody's being cut adrift, so they've just got to hang in there and just get these kind of results as and when they possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then the last of the deep dive is Altrincham 1, Woking 3. Mark, I'll come to you first again on this one, seeing as you've got your dry toast, and obviously you want to talk about Altrincham as well. What did you make of this one?
Well, dry toast. You can put some butter and a slap load of jam on this one. 2 teams that needed to do something. Who would blink first? And unfortunately, for Altrincham, it was them. I don't know quite what is going so wrong. I know that They did have a different goalkeeper in for Tuesday for the FA Cup, but you can't. But it's the other end of the pitch. I mean, it is becoming so apparent now that Linney and Newby, the ghost of Regan Linney and Alex Newby, still haunts them. And to be fair, maybe Chris Con Clark as well. I mean, they're going to groan the moment they see them coming back because there's just no firepower. I just can't understand how it has gone so bad so quickly. I mean, I know Jimmy Knowles is coming from Boston and has done exceptionally well, but it, they're going to find it very unusual to be where they are because they've always been sort of accustomed to bubbling between 10th and 7th, but fifth from bottom, some people might take that a different way. People like me, for example.
Yeah.
Woking, uh, we needed to see what they were about. I mean, you could say that the opposition was, oh, Jerry, well, they're fifth from bottom. They've got to get something, and they did, Um, will it improve? Will it improve my opinion of Woking if they play well and win 3-1 every week? Maybe that dry toast will suddenly become moist, if you will. But yeah, I
Random
mean,
choice
it
of
was
wording. Random choice of wording, man.
well.
How are we on a football podcast talking about things being moist? Come on.
I've heard. Listen, my man. I have heard one of your descriptions earlier. Moist is the least of our worries. If you go off and say that, what you were going to say.
I would never say
Good
what I said
lord.
before we went on air. What I said, what I would never say that on here. So, anyways, yeah. Craig.
You've heard it, folks. And the next thing that will come out of his mouth will be that phrase.
No, we've already went
But
past
yeah,
Morecambe, so I can't say it. Craig.
yeah. But yeah, work to do. Work to do for
Yeah.
both of them.
Craig, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, we had Jacob on, obviously the Woking fan in midweek, and we spoke about this potentially if it goes badly for them being Neil Yardley's last game in charge. They were a little bit of kind of jeopardy there, a little bit of struggling, and obviously the disappointment of the FA Cup, and they've bounced back really well. But as Mark said, will it just be a bit of a false dawn, or will it be a start of a little run for them? They took an early lead and then got pegged back, and we were wondering how they're going to react, and then they almost scored 3 or 4 minutes later, and then second half controlled the game and furthered their lead with a penalty. So yeah, good result for Woking, and Altrincham just now probably alongside Morecambe are the two least formed teams in the league. So be interesting to see who Altrincham are playing at the weekend to see if they can stop that. Right? That's right. I believe it's my boys, which we know, as Dan knows, we tend to let teams stop their rots against us. So hopefully not in that case.
Yeah,
You better not.
Dan, how did you see this one, mate?
Yeah, it's I'm genuinely surprised by how bad things have got at Altrincham. I think granted, a little bit similar to Gateshead and Halifax. Really, they are the sort of club that like have a good track record of bringing through some very very decent players, reviving careers, that kind of thing. But eventually, like there is always a bigger club. No disrespect to Altrincham, that does come and snap them up. But I think with Altrincham, they've got a manager that is very set in his style of play. I mean, when it comes off, it is very very entertaining to watch, and I do like the fact that they do try and go about things the right way. But I just feel as though football is evolving again a little bit, and I think teams are kind of wiser as to how to play against it. I think going back to Gateshead, like we're in the kind of late stages of us having Mike Williamson as manager. I felt so we were getting a little bit found out because obviously it is a very similar style of play, and I think at times I think the way football's going now, you do have to be a little bit more adaptable. So I think one or two Altrincham fans are starting to lose a bit of patience with Phil Parkinson. I mean, granted, on the whole, he's done an extremely good job there, and nobody should ever deny him of that. But I think for Woking, the pressure was obviously on Neil Ardley, especially after what really for them was a pretty embarrassing lost in the FA Cup in midweek, but they've gone to Altrincham and they have bounced back. I do think there is the quality within the squad to be able to stay up. I think there's there's some very good players in there, and on the day there can be a pretty good side. But it's just about a whole thing about consistency, really. I think Neil Ardley I think he is a safe pair of hands for this league. I think he's not going to they're never going to pull up any trees, in my opinion. But I think that's a really important result for Woking, and I think especially you look at the next three games. Rochdale at home, Southend at home, Tamworth away. It's a pretty stubborn run of fixtures, that. So maybe it's just something that they needed as a bit of insurance more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. That's it for the deep dive. We're going to do 5 in 5 minutes now, speed things along a little bit. So it's my turn this week. So we'll see how Craig will time me. We'll see how long this takes. So first up, we've got Solihull 2, Braintree 0. Craig won't want to hear this, but two poor teams. Just from the bits I've seen, Braintree were very wasteful, sloppy final passes, missing chances. 2 goals from Bradley Stevenson were the difference. In our group chat, I seen a comment that compared it to 2 toddlers having a fist fight, which kind of was accurate in a way. So it was quite funny. But big win for Solihull Moors, and I did look through their recent results. They've had 3 wins and a draw in their last 6. So they are starting to climb out of trouble after a bad start. Obviously, Matt Taylor being sacked, new manager bounce. So hopefully for them, they will do that going forward. Braintree, banging trouble, Craig, I'm afraid. It needs to change. And it's that Mick McCarthy. It can't go on like this. It can, I think. It can. So, anyways, next we've got Aldershot 1, Tamworth 2. Aldershot's another team that seemed to just be in free fall. Really poor form. Kwame Thomas opened the scoring 10 minutes before half time before Hayden Hollis got the equaliser in the stoppage time at the end of the first half. And then Tamworth in the second half just seemed to have chance after chance, and it didn't look like it was going to be their day. And then Beckray and Oru, I hope I've pronounced that right, in the 97th minute, got the winner. Tamworth in great form, just sat outside the playoffs, absolute punching well above their weight, in my opinion, doing fantastically well. I know we tipped them to struggle this season just because they'd lost Dan Creaney, but they seem to be doing okay. Obviously, Jazz Singh has been on the podcast as well, so good to see them doing well. Next, we've got Boreham Wood 2, Eastleigh 0. Boreham Wood absolutely flying. Like, I still say they're the best team. Them and Rochdale are the 2 best teams I've seen come to Brunton Park this season. Luke Garrard's got them playing some really great stuff, and they've got we've talked about Matt Rush, Souser, other players, and then obviously it was Abdul Malik's turn. They can hurt you all over the pitch. Abdul Malik opened the scoring in the second half, and then Lewis Richardson sealed the 3 points. Pretty much straightforward home victory. Eastleigh won't be too disheartened. Boreham Wood are a good side. Eastleigh you'll be looking more in the next few games to get better results, climb up the table. Boston 1, Scunthorpe 1. Pretty solid game, even as well, I would say. Both teams had chances. The man whose name's a shop opened the scoring. He got his goal against Carlisle last week as well. He seems to be finding a bit of form. But then Callum Roberts' penalty, another team, Scunthorpe, that they've got so much attacking talent that can just harm you all over the pitch. It was Callum Roberts' turn. It'll probably be Declan Howes next week, Danny Whitehall the week after. They've got so much there. But Scunthorpe in 4th place. Boston now 1 defeat in 7 in the league, so they are starting to steady the ship, even though they obviously got beaten in the cup. And then we've got Rochdale 3, Yeovil 0. Probably the most one-sided, maybe apart from York and Wealdstone, one-sided game of the day. Rochdale were unlucky not to make the deep dive, to be fair, because they are top of the league. They're flying. Manny D with 2 goals and assist. Absolutely incredible. I picked him as one of my players to watch from the start of the season alongside Regan Linney. Both of them seem to just be matching each other every week. Regan Linney got 2 goals and an assist. Manny D got 2 goals and an assist. They're both sat on exactly the same. So massive from Rochdale. And Yeovil, again, they just seem to They had 3 wins in a row. They've now lost 3 in a row. They'll probably go and win 3 in a row, and then they'll lose 3 in a row. It's so confusing for them at the moment. I know they've had a bit of upheaval with the manager and things like that, but they'll be okay. They'll climb up the table, I think, and obviously Rochdale, massive credit to them. Again, unlucky to not make the deep dive. Just saying that to the Rochdale fans on Twitter and stuff. We are away. You're the best team in the league. You're top of the league, and you're flying. So massive credit to you. And that's my 5 in 5 minutes. How long was that, Craig?
Just over 4.
Oh, that's not bad. Not bad.
Good timing. Good timing.
Good timing. And then
Still not beating 90 seconds, though.
no, Mark's is the record 90 seconds. That was impressive. But you did have a few 0-0 draws and 1-1s in there. So, and then
Yeah, we moved on quickly from them.
just before we finish, Craig, update us on the predictions. You've had an absolutely incredible weekend, mate.
Yes, sometimes when you ask me to do this, I'm not so happy to do it. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be doing it. So, yes, 12 games gone. Obviously, we predicted the next 3 with the Woking fan, Jacob, as well, for Tuesday night. And myself, I'm on 26 points at the moment. I got 4 perfect results. I predicted the Rochdale one right, the York one right. I can't remember the other 2 now. 2 more
Morecambe.
anyway. Boston Scunthorpe, I got right. I remember
Morecambe
that
and
one.
Southend, wasn't it?
No, I had that as 4-1. It will come to me. Boreham Wood to win 2-0 at home to Eastleigh. That was the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 26 points. There's a nice for me anyway, a gap. Dan's next with 12. He got no perfect results, but got 6 out of the 12 he predicted in the right direction.
I'd like to point out I got absolutely stitched up with some late goals. Like I was bang on a couple of results, and then there was late goals in
Here
both
we
of them.
go.
I was
Here we go.
Aldershot Tamworth. I had 1-1. Tamworth scored in the 97th minute. I had Truro Halifax 1-1, and Truro scored in the 95th minute or something.
Listen. Nobody's interested in your excuses, Bateman.
Hey, Sharpley, mind the gap, mate.
Nobody's
Mind the gap.
interested in your excuses.
Mind the gap, Sharpley.
Mark did get a perfect result this week, though. He got 11
Hey.
points. Louis,
Who could?
Mark, Louis, and Jacob, I guess, all got 11 points with 1 perfect and 3 right. So not too bad for those guys. And yeah, really good week for me. But obviously 3 games still to go, which we predicted on last week's pod as well, with Boston playing Morecambe, Eastleigh versus Scunthorpe, and York versus Boreham Wood on Tuesday night. So when we're back on probably Thursday, it will come out. We'll see how those games are gone. Just like to say that Ryan from Scunthorpe has got the highest score in minute 26. So I've matched that for the second time this week. So I'll be hoping to get one more result to go to the top of that table on my own.
So what's the
We'll be hearing
standings
this
as
for
of now?
weeks.
I'll be honest with you, because the week hasn't finished, I haven't added
Yeah.
the full totals on yet. I'll be doing that when the week is finished.
Well, hopefully Craig's caught the guests up anyways, because it's not a good look for us guys when the guests keep beating us.
I think the gap was about 40, so not quite.
But yeah, so massive well done to Craig. Honestly, when I was checking the results yesterday before the Carlisle game, I was like, how many's Craig got right? Like, that's incredible. So honestly, mate, massive well done. Your luck's definitely in. But yeah, so anyways, it shows as well you don't even have to get the correct results. Just as long as you pick the right winner, which I did. I didn't get any correct results and I still got 12 points. That's not too bad. But yeah, just wanted to obviously thank Dan again for joining us, giving us the Gateshead perspective on everything. Wish you all the best for the season. Obviously not when you play our teams, but every other game we wish you all the best.
They've already beat my team.
That's true. I think we play you around Christmas time. I think.
Boxing Day at the Guest, then Good Friday at Brunton Park.
Yeah. Well, I'll maybe see you up here, mate, if you're travelling. Maybe see you at the game. But thanks again, and thanks to Mark for joining me as always, and thanks to Craig as well for the facts and figures and everything. And don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody. We really want to hit 750 subscribers by the end of the year if we can. I think we're on 550 now, so if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. It helps us get more guests, create better content, all that stuff. So greatly appreciated. But we'll catch you all again soon. Take care.